significance of it, Larry, of course, is that if we can disprove that the kill shot came from the the sixth floor of the book depository, then we know it couldn't have been Oswald, and we know that there had to be at least a second gunman that day in Lely Plaza, and therefore we have a conspiracy, and we have multiple gunmen.
Actually, you're saying from your research, you've concluded that there were, two gunmen behind the president in different buildings, and one in front that provided the kill shot from the front, the grassy knoll.
That's correct. I believe that there was a sniper at the sixth floor window of the book depository building. I just don't believe it was Oswald. And I believe that there was an assassin on the second floor of the Daltex Records building, which was to the left of and adjacent to the book depository building, which is another vantage point which was slightly above and behind the president. And I believe that the shot that came from the Daltex Records building is the shot that hit the president in the upper back and caused that non-fatal wound that he sustained.
So a typical sniper's layout where it's triangulated fire to make sure the target is hit.
Yes, and I believe that's why the sniper in the book depository window did not take his easiest shot that day. Why didn't he shoot at the president when the limousine was approaching him on Houston Street if he was a lone assassin? Because that was by far his easiest shot. But by allowing the limousine to make the left-hand turn onto Elm Street and begin to move away from him, Larry, then there's some obstacles that come into play, such as the oak tree. And I took a picture from that window, the Oswald window, and it showed us that the first shot from that window could not have come until the president cleared the foliage of the tree. So I contend that the assassin at the sixth floor window allowed the motorcade to make the left-hand turn onto Elm because the president had to have entered the trap for that triangulation of crossfire that you speak of, so that it wasn't just the one assassin at the window who had access to the president.
So in other words, it was a much easier and clearer shot from the southwest window onto Houston Street. Elm Street was a more difficult shot, especially because an oak tree was blocking some of the view and there was less of a time to fire and aim accurately. But the Elm shot was used because, as you say, they had to make the limousine turn into that kill zone with the triangulated fire.
Yes, in fact, when the limousine was on Houston Street, and it came directly below the Oswald window and had to slow to almost 3 miles per hour to make a 90-degree turn onto Elm. That was the perfect kill shot. If he was a lone assassin, it makes no sense to me why he wouldn't have taken that shot. But by allowing the car to turn left, then all three assassins can participate in the triangulation of crossfire to make sure that their mission is accomplished, which was to kill the president.
So do you believe that Oswald fired any of the shots?
No, I do not. I believe that his role was to set up the sniper's window in the book depository building because he worked there, so he had access to it. And I believe that he didn't know that his rifle would be brought into the building by the actual assassin and left there, along with 3 shell casings that were pre-fired from the rifle itself, to incriminate him. And when I was in the book depository building, Larry, I did a test myself. The building was locked and sealed. It was completely empty. And so I did a test, and I ran from the Oswald window 6 floors down to the second floor lunchroom, because the Warren Commission said that Oswald did that in 90 seconds precisely. And when in the second floor lunchroom, he was encountered by Dallas police officer Marion Baker, who pulled a gun on him. But Oswald was calm and collected and cool, and the officer said, well, he was not a suspect, so I moved on. And so when I did that test, and that was a long time ago, I was able to get down to the second floor lunchroom in 90 seconds, but I was hardly calm and cool and collected at that 90th second. I was sweaty a little bit. I was shaky a little bit. My cheeks were flushed a little bit. I would not have passed that visual test if an officer was pointing a gun at me, and I would have been a suspect, but Oswald wasn't. And so I strongly believe that Oswald was in the second floor lunchroom at the time of the shots, just as he claimed he was, instead of at the sixth floor window.
Now, this leads to the next question that's also been asked endlessly. Was Oswald a witting part of the assassination plot or an unwitting dupe that was used as a fall guy? Some sort of he played some role in an operation, but he didn't know it was going to be an assassination of the President of the United States.
I'm not of that theory. I believe that he was involved in the assassination of the President. As I described, it was his role to set up the sniper's nest for what was to be the actual assassin, and he didn't know that his co-conspirators were going to incriminate him and set him up as the lone assassin of the President. I believe that for him to have been completely duped and totally uninvolved makes no sense, because it's so hard to set him up if he has absolutely no role. But if he's with co-conspirators and they know that he works at the building and they know that he was a communist defector and all these things in his background, it's easy to set him up by his co-conspirators, much easier than it was if he had absolutely no role and had no knowledge of the assassination about to take place.
Last year, 2017, there was much hope among researchers that new information would come to light because of the release of supposedly all the information involving the JFK assassinations, which was dictated through the 1992 JFK records assassination release. The government was required to release all these records within 25 years of 1992. That was 2017. So that was supposed to be the big revelation. What came of it? How much valuable or new things did we actually learn when they released supposedly all of the records or close to the records?
Well, Larry, pertaining to the assassination itself, we learned nothing. It was a major letdown. There were no bombshells. There were some things that were interesting, such as affirmation that the CIA was working with organized crime and was involved in political assassinations abroad, such as Fidel Castro. And I believe my book contends that Oswald was associated with the anti-Castro Cuba movement through a friend, David Fairley, and that was at the Bay of Pigs invasion that was being planned in 1961. And I believe that after the failed Bay of Pigs and after the successful and peaceful Cuban Missile Crisis, I believe that the target switched from Castro to Kennedy. And I think some of the documents that were released show that this is a probability that we really should look at, because there was this unholy alliance that a lot of people suspected, but these documents affirmed.